Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Learn Cardano podcast, the podcast where we break down all the ins and outs of Cardano and all these projects that are building on the blockchain so you get a really good understanding of what on earth is going on and how you can participate and be a part of what's building on Cardano. Now, it's been a little while since I've done an audio-only podcast, but the team from CherryLend wanted to come on and explain exactly how their brand new borrowing and lending protocol is going to work and their approach as well, which I absolutely love. They've taken a completely open source approach to building the entire protocol. This is everything from the smart contracts, which you can see online, as well as all of the off-chain code, which isn't very commonly shared in the Cardano ecosystem at the moment, mainly because people are launching projects and they want that competitive edge. And a lot of the work is done in the off-chain code. This is the code that's sitting on the web servers itself and interacts with the web interface, the website, and the smart contracts. So it's really good to see a lot more of these projects are taking a complete open source approach, and CherryLend is one of those projects. I have Migs joining me on this episode to talk through all the ins and outs, their approach, how they're going to attract liquidity, and this is all before their launch as well on the 1st of December 2023. If you're listening to this after that date, you can jump on the website, play around, and get an understanding of how borrowing and lending works on the Cardano ecosystem. This is just one of many borrowing and lending protocols that is out on the Cardano blockchain. But of course, they take and bring their own uniqueness to the ecosystem and community and everything else around it. Now, if you want to get to the show notes, references, everything you can find on the Learn Cardano website, learncardano.io. Search for the podcast episode around CherryLend, and you'll be able to consume all the show notes and references there. All right, let's get into this interview. All right, so how are you involved in the community overall? I know you've got a stake pool, and it seems like you're doing a lot more now as well. Like, how are you involved in the Cardano ecosystem?
Well, I think it all started like in 2019, I think, about the time I spawned my pool for the first time. And it felt great, really. Although I definitely understood it's definitely not easy to build a successful pool. So it's easy to spawn a pool, but not exactly to make it successful, right? It requires a lot of marketing skills, etc. But mostly I've been working in the backstage. I've I don't know, a little later, I guess, for like maybe 2 years or so, I've been developing in Cardano, always in relatively low profile projects and always in the backstage. And so I'm really excited to be working on CherryLend now because I think it's a potentially high profile project. With a great roadmap, in my opinion. I'm excited for all this.
And so am I. So many things launching at the moment, and CherryLend being one of them coming up just around the corner. But like, all those years of like working in the background, it's really good because you've been learning all these things that you need to know,
Indeed.
Processing data from the chain, how to index that and read it easily. There's so many things that a stake pool operator needs to know, and all those skills are so transferable into development of dApps and all these other things because they need that kind of backend to operate. So it's good that you've had that like length of experience and exposure to everything. So it's really good and commendable that you've stuck around for so long too.
Yeah, and I've been putting together all that knowledge that I've been accumulating in CherryLend. Of course, I'm not alone in this. Okay, there's a team, and we also count on two other very talented off-chain developers with whom we built this SDK. One of the things that I'm most excited about is the fact that we will be later open sourcing this SDK, which is a great way to provide value to the community, right? Because we are since the beginning, we were relying on open sourced smart contracts to build this, but we're going one step further and actually also open sourcing the off-chain code.
Ooh.
So hopefully bringing additional value
Gotcha.
to the space. Yeah, and we will also be doing that. Our intention is, our roadmap is to always open source what we build, and we will be having V2. So we've been focusing on putting something out that works and that is user friendly for people to interact with, simple, straightforward, but also focused on building a solid foundation for us to build on top of next, right? So we're starting with peer-to-peer lending for now, but we will be evolving to pooled lending in our V2, which we are still trying to decide what's the best path to follow, but we're leaning towards instead of relying on the traditional pooled lending where there's one UTXO with all the funds, we will be probably going to build it, to implement it in a different way, where we got a pool of UTXOs that we can then match to user requests. Anyway, we're still designing this part, and before V2, we still got a lot to put out.
All right.
Namely mobile support. It's coming soon. Too, we're working on that. And also something that I'm very excited about, which is basically incorporating bond support. We've been agreeing with Denogo, the bond market, and they will be providing a way for us to get prices, live prices for bonds, which is a crucial part for us to add this support.
That is very, very cool.
Yeah, so that'll be a nice feature for sure. So that's why I'm really excited about all this. We're not only releasing V1 in a few days, but we have a very good roadmap.
So there's lots of pretty exciting things there. I love the idea of having the open UTXOs. So it's more like, it kind of operates more like an order book DEX where you have all those open UTXOs and open orders, and then you have to match them up. Is that the kind of idea that you're going for, or the team was trying to architect there?
Well, from a user perspective, the idea is that it's actually transparent. Okay, they won't notice it will work like that. What we aim for is a simple, straightforward user experience. So the user requests an amount, and we do what it takes to collect that amount and fulfill the loan. So the main difference is underlying, and basically there's no contention. Instead of just using one UTXO, get multiple. So there's no need for batching transactions together, because there's natively no contention. So yeah, we feel that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's the Cardano way. I think that's a smart way of going about it as well.
This is what makes me happier, is that we will, if we're going with this, we will be also open sourcing all this, okay? Because this is our main intention, to open source everything we build, namely the off-chain code.
Very cool indeed. And you said that the SDK or that off-chain code you were going to open source too. Now that is very rare. I don't see much of the off-chain code in the Cardano ecosystem open sourced for anyone else to use.
Yeah, that's one of our first assumptions since the beginning.
Yeah, okay, that's really good. So anyone could take a look at your code and go, oh, great, that's fantastic, and completely clone everything that you got and launch their own CherryLend. Is that the idea, the amount of code that you can...
Potentially.
Yeah. Wow, okay, all right, cool. Potentially,
yes. Or and eventually generate integration scenarios.
What does that mean?
Well, it basically means that if people have access to the SDK, they can also interact with the smart contract in the same way that we do. Okay, so it's an open door for people to integrate with CherryLend, and I'm sure there will be some interesting use cases for that.
That's even better. Why try and make your own protocol and attract liquidity and do all these other things when you can just tap into someone else's and put your own interface or whatever, and then add a fee on top? That's easier.
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay. Well, there's lots of opportunities there for sure. I'm sure smarter developers than myself will be able to come up with some ideas to see where things can go. Or I guess you could also integrate from wallets, other dexes and things like that too, and just tap into what you guys provide.
Yeah. I think CherryLend is really about open sourcing and bringing value to the community, to the space, to the Cardano space overall. And I think we don't only say this, but we actually take action towards this, towards implementing this. And we already started these partnerships for this V1. So, for example, we're counting on very well-known and respected SPOs to run liquidation oracles. Okay, so no liquidation in CherryLend, and no price liquidation in CherryLend happens without these SPOs assigning the liquidation transaction. Okay, I would like to name them actually because they are very important to us. We're counting on Apex, PSP, BBHMMM, OTG, Seal, Inspire, and Elemental. Okay, all of these have been running pools for quite some time. Some of them are very well known. Like, for instance, if you go to the Cardano support forum, you'll see replies from Apex all over. He's always trying to help people. He's actually also helping out with the incentives tracking. That's also a very important part of CherryLend, the incentive structure. PSB is one of the Koya's core developers. So again, another very important person in the space, contributing to software that lots of people use in Cardano. We're also relying on these guys' experience in securely running and efficiently running nodes, because that will be very important for the liquidation oracles, right? We need to make sure they are secure and running according to the best standards. So it's also a way for us to give back to them, okay? Give them an opportunity to be a part of this and share with us their experience. Like, we have a group actually where we even discuss security details, what are the best approaches for this and for that. So it's very important for us to count on their expertise and their feedback. So thanks a lot, guys, by the way.
Big shout out to them for sure.
Yeah. And at the same time, we're getting to involve other people from the community to be a part of CherryLend. Another very important partnership is the one I already mentioned with the No-Go for bond support. I'm really excited for that one too. And we got a few more up our sleeves, but more on that later.
All right. You got to keep something for the audience in the future. So, hold on to those.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's
exactly.
First off, a big shout out for OTG. I love the Starforge. I actually delegate to them, even though I have my own stake pool. So, big thumbs up to OTG. Like, seeing those posts, I'll put links and references to it for those people that don't know. But basically, it's a stake pool in an RV van at the moment. And anywhere it goes, it's
running
going
on
up and down.
Starlink, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Starlink. And it's going around the US and minting blocks. That is so cool.
Awesome.
So let me go back a couple of steps. So there's a lot here for the listeners to take in. Liquidation bots, SDKs, all these things that you are building, which is really cool. But for a first-time listener that's listening in and trying to get an understanding of CherryLend, obviously, it's a borrowing lending protocol built on a Cardano, but how would a user use a platform like this? So I'm trying to think of it from a point of view of a user that is just staking ADA at the moment. They're hearing about all this really cool DeFi stuff, and they're coming to CherryLend. What would they be doing here to earn more? Like, what would they need to do to maximize their return on ADA?
Yeah. Okay. So the first possibility is that they have some tokens lying around in their wallet doing nothing, although they believe in their potential. Okay, so they're not planning on selling them; they're planning on holding them, and so one of the options is basically to provide these tokens as a loan to someone else. So lend these tokens and get something in return, the interest. Okay, so this is one of the use cases to generate some income by lending some of your assets, or the opposite. So you're expecting some token to either appreciate or not, okay? And you think that it might be a good idea to borrow these tokens, or uh, or you know that these tokens provide some income in some way, and you'd like to borrow some more instead of just buying them from a DEX. You can also go to CherryLend and borrow these tokens from someone else, and of course locking some collateral to, if something happens to the token, right, the lender cannot be losing money on this. So it's part of the protocol to lock some collateral as usual. So these are the use cases, basically. Someone trying to get some income from their tokens that are just lying there doing nothing. So they lend these tokens and get something in return, more of the same token. Or you need those tokens for some reason and you think you can make money out of that. So you go to CherryLend and you borrow these tokens, of course, paying some interest.
There are some really easy use cases to understand. Now, I can't use something like Hosky token. I've got a lot of Hosky token, but can I use that on the platform?
Well, it actually won't be a part of the first batch of tokens supported, okay? But one of the things that we are really trying to be is to listen to the community, okay? This will translate in us being agile in adding not only features and improving the UX as feedback comes in, but also, of course, adding new tokens. Adding new tokens for us is relatively simple. We built it in a way that is relatively simple to add new tokens. So it's just a matter of let us know what it is that you want in the platform, and we will provide it to you really, really soon.
So what are the risks then? Because obviously Hosky token isn't there at the start, so could it be seen as not a Hosky token, but could some tokens on the platform be seen as a risk because they're not popular? There's not much of it in liquidity. There's not much in circulation. Are there other risks that we need to know about when using the platform, and what should people be aware of?
Risks are typically associated with liquidity, and volatility. Okay, if it's a token that is very volatile, that is today it's worth X and tomorrow is worth half of that. Okay, that's going to be an issue, because if the token is used as a collateral, suddenly the collateral is no longer agreeing with a healthy loan. Okay, so there's the potential for a liquidation. So, but perhaps that's also something that is okay, because users decide what loans to take and what loans to provide. So it ends up being all up to the user. Okay, the user wants to either lend or borrow, and they know about the risks of volatility and liquidity, right? Because if you provide some loan with a collateral of a token that is not very liquid, it might happen that you need to liquidate because of some volatility of the token. You get those tokens from the loan, and then you'll need probably to sell those, right? If there's no liquidity, you end up losing a bit. You'll end up selling those tokens for a little less than you were expecting to. That's also a risk.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I think I have to play around with that and see how your interface shows a health of a loan and the collateral, so I can get an idea of how risky some
Yeah,
loans may be on the platform
yeah,
if I was to take something
yeah.
out.
We made sure that whenever a loan shows up in the platform, we always have that health indicator for people to know how that stacks up according to standards. We configured some health thresholds for each token. This is also configurable, so we will evolve this configuration as we go and as we get feedback from our users. Also, as we incorporate new tokens in the platform. But basically, the user is always aware of how healthy a specific loan is. Or translated, what this means is basically what is the relationship of the loan amount versus the collateral, and if that collateral is able to support the loan in general, if it's valuable enough to serve as a guarantee for that loan.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. Now you mentioned the liquidation aspects, liquidation bots before that the SPOs were running. Can you explain how that all works and why it's needed there? And also, I think
Yeah.
oracles tie into this as well. So we talked about the operators running them, but how does that work in the ecosystem, and what are they for?
Okay, let's talk liquidation. So there are
Yep.
basically two ways a loan can get liquidated. One is the simplest. Okay, someone just took a loan and forgot to pay it back after the duration of the loan ends, or decided not to pay for some reason. Okay, after that time elapses, the lender can liquidate that loan and seize the collateral that is locked in the platform. So that's the first use case. It's the simplest. Okay. The second way a loan can be liquidated is because due to some volatility in the collateral token, the collateral is no longer adequate to the loan amount. Okay, and we give the lender the possibility to liquidate a loan based on its price. But this price is something that should be verified by other entities. So we cannot rely on CherryLend alone to guarantee that the price is okay. We would like to involve other parties to make sure that everything is really this loan is really liquidatable, meaning the price is allows a lender to do that. Okay, so we don't want this to be centralized. We want to decentralize this operation and make sure that our valuable SPOs sign the transaction, the liquidation transaction. So the user triggers the liquidation. We issue calls to our oracles, to our liquidation oracles, and they check if the price is if the loan is liquidable, okay, and they sign the transaction. So there's no liquidation happening without a sufficient number of oracles signing the liquidation transaction. And if we can gather the necessary signatures, we will then allow the user to submit the liquidation transaction.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. Really interesting how those mechanisms work, and thank you for explaining it to me as well. Now, where do the prices come from for the Oracle side of things? Some of these tokens, there may be APIs on like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko to get the price, but some others may not be. So, where does that data come from?
Okay. Right now, we're using MinSwap as our main source. We will be, again, V1 is all about having something out there. We chose MinSwap because for the tokens we're supporting, this is the DEX with the most liquidity and the most widely used. So that's what we're going for. Of course, in our plans, we're going to add additional price information source. But again, V1 is all about building a solid foundation for us to work on top of. So it's definitely something in our roadmap to add other DEXs.
Totally understood. Okay, so version 1, starting with MinSwap price feeds, and then moving on and expanding from there. Is that literally just expanding to other DEXs and getting their price feeds?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Because that's where we get the most real-time price. It's from DEXs.
Yep. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Now, what about attracting users to the platform and having users provide loans and getting users to start borrowing on the platform? How are you guys going to do that?
Yeah, that's another exciting part. So that relates to our incentives structure. Okay, so we're making sure that people are incentivized to use the platform. So whenever you use the platform, you're going to get some Cherry token back. This allows users to become a part of the project, of the platform. And this token is actually a good way for people to get some extra income, because along with V1, we will be delivering a staking portal where users can stake the Cherry token, and users staking the Cherry token will get a share of the fees charged by the platform. So it's a potential passive income stream for users. And not only that, but they will also be able to be a part of the governance. So Cherry token will also be our governance token, which will again allow users to vote on proposals we build with the community support. This governance part won't be available right on V1, but it's something that we are very eager to put forward, because that will be the main way for us to decide what to do next, be it including tokens, new tokens in the platform, or making some changes to the UX, making some other partnerships that we should build. So that will be the main way for people to decide on the future of CherryLend.
I find that many of the projects in the Cardano ecosystem that do embrace governance are doing very well at the moment. The ones that involve the community, have the utility token in there for voting and proposal submissions, they're the ones that are really kicking it in Cardano DeFi at the moment. So it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and it's perfectly natural, because the success of the platform is tied very closely to the community of users, right? And we've been counting on users since day one. It's that our channel is constantly getting back some feedback. We decided to do an open testnet development, so we kept improving. Every week we released a new version with new stuff, and we were always getting feedback from our users. Actually, a few of our most valuable community members that have been providing important feedback since the beginning are now testing CherryLend on mainnet. And once again, they've been providing very important feedback and making sure everything is working according to the way it should work, right? So again, it's very important for us. The community is very important for us in the sense that we rely on them to not only make sure things are working, but also improve. So improve the user experience as a whole. I remember at least 3 or 4 times that we changed something in the UX because we got feedback from the community that this either didn't make sense or it was not very clear. And this is the way we want to keep moving forward, to gather information, to gather feedback from the community, and improve the solution based on that.
And I did have a look at the interface and everything so far, and I have to say it does make sense. At a glance, I can tell and understand exactly what I need to do to borrow or provide a loan on the platform. So hats off to the community and you guys for putting together a really simplified user interface.
That's awesome to hear. But again, if tomorrow you find something that you don't like or doesn't make sense to you, please bring it forward. That's what we want. We want constructive criticism that we can act upon.
You have the launch just around the corner on the 1st of December, 2023. So if anyone's listening to this after that date, you will be able to use CherryLend and play around with it and go into the world of DeFi on Cardano, borrowing, lending, using the platform. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that you have to do between now and then before the actual launch. It's always sometimes a mad scramble for a launch deadline. But where can people find out more information about CherryLend? Just join the community, give you guys feedback, help improve the protocol, or maybe even join and develop on this open source stack. Where do people start?
Well, I think the best place to start is our Discord and Telegram channels. I think that's the best place and where we are gathering feedback the most since the very beginning. Of course, Twitter, or actually X, right? That will be the first place. And of course, our gateway to documentation and everything, which is our website, CherryLend.org.
Brilliant. I'll make sure all those links and references are in the show notes so that people can find out a little bit more about CherryLend and get involved. Migs, thank you for joining me and talking me through everything CherryLend. It's been quite an eye-opener and educational experience.
Cool. I'm very happy to be here with you, actually. So it's been a very good experience to talk to you. Thanks a lot for having me.
Again, big thank you to Migs and the CherryLend team for organizing this interview. It's always really good to just have a sit-down conversation and get to understand the people behind it, their thinking and everything else around the project. So thank you so much, Migs, for joining me. And thank you to the listener for listening all the way to the end of the episode. If you want any of the show notes references, like I mentioned, you can find them on the Learn Cardano website, learncardano.io. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please give it that little thumbs up. Give the whole show that 5-star rating and review. And if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button. Really helps with promotion of the project and the podcast episode. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating. IOHK, Emergo, we're not affiliated, not Cardano Foundation. We just gotta say it. A show that you can learn and it's for your entertainment. Yeah, you gotta check it. Don't wanna be missing that. You were tuned in to the Learn Cardano podcast. Yeah, giving insight. Ain't another show like this when it come to crypto. Invest at your own risk. Might not be for everyone, but who it is for, we keep giving you some info and plenty more. Hey, yeah, the Learn Cardano podcast. Hey, yeah, the Learn Cardano podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Keep it locked right here. Let's go.